Right, let's talk a little bit about the background to the year ahead. The coalition government has made considerable changes and Wiltshire Council has made significant cuts to implement them. We need to face up to these challenges. Legislation needs to be finalised before we know the full extent of how all of this is going to affect services to Cricklade, but they will. What is clear is that the Localism Bill will give more power and responsibility at a local level, the so-called big society. In Cricklade, we're trying to offer resilient measures to maintain local services and to reduce any potential threat to them where we can. And as I've already mentioned earlier, when it was proposed that the car parking charges would be introduced at the Town Hall, affecting the economic viability of our High Street, the Town Council agreed to take over a lease and management responsibility from Wiltshire Council, ensuring that no charges would be made. Our library, though it will remain open, will have its hours significantly reduced, and we're looking at ways where we can work with library staff and volunteers to retain good or better access for local people. Our own grounds team will take on more gritting duties in the winter months where highways teams are unable to cover some of the routes. Cutbacks to the youth service mean that the youth centre is not open as regularly, and we've authorised a change to the lease, allowing the leisure centre use of the building in return for leisure arrangements for young people. Funding has been withdrawn from the Town Council to provide information services on Wiltshire Council's behalf, but we will continue to help local residents from our front office on this as much as we can. And there'll be more challenges to come. The Town Council may need to take on more services and assets to ensure their future for local people. We know too that more will fall to volunteers to keep things going, and we will support this where we can. In fact, as I've already mentioned, there is a budget increase for grants for local groups working on projects to benefit the town. Challenges include the future of the Ockwells building, owned by Wiltshire Council, and housing a doctor's surgery, the library and the Town Council. Its lease is due to expire in 2012, and we aim to negotiate the best, most affordable deal we can to ensure that this remains the central community hub it was always intended to be. And we've also identified a number of tangible objectives for the year ahead. Develop a town centre car park, as we've already talked about. Building on our town's Saxon history and working with Cricklade Bloomers to enhance the eastern roundabout as an impressive gateway to Cricklade. Establish a working party liaising with appropriate agencies and interested parties on the enhancement of Long Close as an area of public open space. I've already mentioned that. Work towards a flood plan for Cricklade together with a network of flood wardens. To support the introduction of a town plan led by a steering group of local people. To support Cricklade Bloomers in our entry in the elite Britain in Bloom Champion of Champions 2011 competition. To seek further funding to extend the skate park. And to begin negotiations on the renewal of the lease of Ockwells and its terms and conditions as a community building and home to your doctor's surgery, library and the Town Council. And finally, whether or not the campus model proposed by Wiltshire Council is followed through, we will support, as needed, the continued improvements and future of Cricklade Leisure Centre. Of course, all of this comes at a cost. Retaining services and assets and making improvements costs money, and Cricklade is a small town of less than 5,000 residents. And though we continually seek external capital funding, our primary source of revenue is through the local precept. And in such a difficult financial environment for residents and businesses, it's vital that the real needs of the town are balanced against what is affordable and best value for money. This slide shows you how our planned expenditure has changed over the last 8 years. The figures are given in absolute terms, but also graphically. The graph shows a rising trend over the first 4 years, but over the last 4 years we've tried to stem the inexorable rise in expenditure to more modest levels. In fact, if you look at the increase since 2007-08, the average annual rise in expenditure has only been 1.3%. This is significantly below inflation over that period and is a reflection of the focus that the Town Council has had in terms of keeping overall expenditure under control. Our planned expenditure this coming year is only 0.7% higher than last year, and this includes the planned loan repayment of the car park. The major way in which we fund this expenditure is through the precept. Unfortunately, interest rates remain at very low levels and our reserves have actually fallen. We're therefore not able to earn the interest that we've been able to in the past on our free reserves. This means that the precept at an individual household level has had to increase by some 8.1% just to keep our expenditure broadly flat. Whilst this is clearly an increase above current inflation rates, it's largely been brought about by a 5% rise agreed through the consultation exercise asking local people if the Town Council should take on a loan to fund the new car park. And as already said, we're delighted that so many residents participated and gave a clear mandate to take this forward. So, 8.1% this year, but over the last 4 years the average increase has been 3.9%. And without the loan for the car park, would have been about 2.7%, whilst inflation over that same period is around 3.3%. This still puts us in the same league table position as in previous years when our precept level is compared with other towns in North Wiltshire. I and the rest of the Council are committed to try and keep expenditure under control as much as possible. But this has to go hand in hand with accepting that we cannot do everything that residents might want. We will continue to apply for grants and other sources of funding wherever possible in order to deliver strong local services underpinning what we see as a vibrant community. However, I wanted to share with you a few challenges that we have looking forward. The lease that we hold at Lockwells is due for renewal in 2012, and there is the risk that this could lead to a significant increase in the rent that we have to pay. We will negotiate hard on this, but it nevertheless remains a risk. One other challenge for us is to work with Wiltshire Council over both the possible transfer of assets that they own to the local community, and also the possible delegation of services where we believe that we can do the job better than Wiltshire Council and at a lower cost. Let's just review what you get for your money today. The management of the Town Council and its budget, a tourist information point, information and guidance about Wiltshire Council services. Even now, as I've said earlier, the Wiltshire Council funding for us to provide this, which was some £8,000 a year, has been withdrawn. Consultation, assessment and representation on local planning applications. Work to ensure that Cricklade is consulted and represented on proposed development strategies, traffic calming, flooding and car parking issues. Work towards securing funding and implementing new projects. Up-to-date information about local events through the Town Council website, notice boards, the Town Guide and the Chronicle. The maintenance of the CCTV system. Administration of burial records, spaces, memorials and plaques. Access to photocopying and other services. Grant support for a number of local community groups and organisations. And what you notice every day, what you really notice every day, is the day-to-day maintenance and upkeep of the recreation grounds, Fairview Fields, the Millennium Wood, Saxon's Rest, Bath Road Play Area, the skate park, the cemetery, the War Memorial, St Sampson's and St Mary's churchyards, and other open spaces. You also get high street enhancements and award-winning floral displays and a clean and tidy town. Before finishing, can I just end by recording my personal thanks to all our councillors for their voluntary work during the last year, but in particular to Vice Chairman Councillor Gina Chapman for her hard work and support, particularly whilst I was on holiday, and her leadership of the Planning Committee. And thanks also to Councillor Terry Robertson for her leadership of the Community and Leisure Committee. And to Councillor Peter Coleman, who works hard as your Wiltshire Councillor and who provides us with invaluable liaison with Wiltshire Council. Our achievements are a team effort with everybody focused on trying to do what's best for Cricklade. Time now to move on to public question time. This is your chance to have a say, and we'll obviously try our best to answer any question that you may have, but where we can't, we'll follow it up and we'll get back to you. And in some circumstances it may be referring the question to the relevant town council committee. Can I please ask therefore that if you have a question, that you state clearly who you are and where you live, and that will make life easier for Shelley at the front here, who's busy trying to take notes of the meeting. So, this is over to you. I think you have a sort of roving microphone as well. So, any questions? Bob.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to propose a thanks to Cricklade Town Council for all their work for the communities. As a member of the communities, and many of them, when I look around other communities around, I see that sometimes the councils are isolated. So I would like to propose a vote of thanks to the Cricklade Town Council for the work they're doing to support Cricklade. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Bob. I really appreciate that. Obviously, this is our opportunity once a year to stand up and say these are the things that we've done. And obviously, for other members of the community, they're always welcome to come along to our meetings and contribute. And we'd be very happy to see them. But thank you for that, Bob. Appreciate it. Any questions that people have had arising out of the presentation, or anything else that has been a concern to them in the last 12 months? If not, we can all go home. No more questions? No? Okay. Well, in that case, can I say thank you all very much for coming along this evening. I really appreciate it. And I hereby close the meeting. Look forward to seeing you all next year. Thank you.